Okay, I wanted to go over the little out the door quiz I gave you yesterday because we didn't have a chance today in class. And some of you did not finish it, so I just kind of wanted you to watch the video and see how to do the problems here. So list all possible rational roots, and then it says factors of p. Well, this would be your p, it's your constant. This would be your q, it's your Lie coefficient. So all the factors of p would be 1, 2, 4, 5, and then I have 10, and then I have 20. All the factors of q are just 1 and 2. So what I have to do is pair these up one by one. So, and in class I've typically been doing plus minus, and I go ahead and write it like this with all of the p factors here. And then all the q factors down here, 1 and 2. So my possible rational roots are going to be 1 over 1, 1 over 2, and then 2 over 1, 2 over 2. So 2 over 1 is 2, 2 over 2 is just the number 1, which I don't want to repeat, so I'm just going to ignore that one. 4 over 1 is 4, 4 over 2 is 2, so I don't need that one either. So 5 over 1, 5 over 2, then I have 10 over 1, 10 over 2, which is just the number 5, so I'm not going to write that one down either, and then 20 over 1, and then 20 over 2, which is just the 10 here. So those are all the possible rational roots. So when I graph it, I would look for those over here, and it looks like this is an irrational root because I don't see anything between -1 and -2. This -4 is probably the only real rational root. This one is probably not right at 2, so that's the kind of thing you're looking for. And then I would just use this -4 and I'd simplify down and make sure that it was indeed a root. Okay, so we have the next polynomial. We're going to graph this x cubed plus 4x squared minus 6x, and on the calculator. So I'm just making sure I have the right version. There's 2 versions of this, so if I am not doing your version, just kind of follow along and see how it's being done, because it's the same thing on both of the quizzes. Okay, so here I have x to the 3rd, and then I have plus 4x squared. Then I have minus 6x minus 12, minus 6x minus 12. Okay, let me check my window. That's reasonable, so I'm going to graph it. Okay, so I have 3 real roots here. And remember, I'm dealing with a cubic, so my degree is 3. So I should have 3 roots of some form. They all happen to be real, but I don't think that they're all rational. So my possible rational roots are just all the factors of 12 over 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So when I go back to the graphing calculator, I know I don't have any decimal real rational roots on this particular problem. So I think the only root is here at 2. So I'm going to do second table, and I'm going to go down and look at 2, and there we go. So what I'm going to do now is go back and do synthetic division. Okay, so I'm going to take that root at 2, and I'm going to do synthetic division. So I have 1, 4, -6, and -12. And then put your 0 in place, bring down. Then I have 1 times 2 is 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. Multiply here, and I get 12. And when I add these, I get a positive 6. Multiply, I get a positive 12, and I get 0. So I know indeed 2 is a root. Now I'm going to use a quadratic formula with this. And remember, it's nice because A is given, B is given, and C is given. So x is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then I come back in and plug in my a of 1 here and here. My b of 6 goes here and here. And my c of 6 will go here. So when I simplify all this out, it's going to be 36 minus 24. But if you're not seeing that, you can just go ahead and do it all in your calculator. But don't do the square root. Don't take the square root of it. Just actually simplify it out in your calculator. So I get -6 plus and minus the square root of 36 minus 24 is just going to be 12 all over 2. And I'm going to simplify the square root of 12, and that would be 4 times 3, and that's going to be 2 square roots of 3, because I can take the square root of 4. So I'm going to have plus and minus 2 square roots of 3 all over 2, and I can divide all 3 numbers, and we talked about this in class a lot. These 3 values have to be divisible by the same thing. I don't do anything with the radical there. I just kind of bring it along. -6 divided by 2 is -3. This gives me 1, and this gives me 1. So I end up with -3 plus and minus 1 square roots of 3 all over 1. And of course, I don't really need this one right here or this one right here. Okay? And then I'm supposed to list all the roots. Those are 2 irrational roots that I saw in my graph. And then, of course, I had the root of 2, which was a real rational. So there's the answer to 2. And let's see. So for the next one, we already did 2. And then let's do number 3. Okay, so we're going to graph this one on the calculator. Just kind of think through what possible rational roots you may have. They're all going to be whole numbers because my Lie coefficient is 1. So it might be 1, 2, 5, or 10, or -1, 2, 5, or 10. So I'm going to go right to the graphing calculator and graph this. And now I have x to the 4th, which means I'm going to need 4 roots of some nature. So -3x cubed plus 5x squared minus x minus 10. So graph it. May want to play around with the window. So I might have something a little bit bigger than it might actually be 10. So let me give it a little room so I can see the roots if they're bigger numbers. Okay, but they are not. Okay, I know I can't have anything bigger than a positive 10 or smaller than a -10 because of the type of roots that I have. Let's see, here's where I am. So that's the largest root I can have is a 10 or the smallest is a -10. All right, so back to the calculator. It looks like maybe I have one at -1, maybe one at +2. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look at my table. I'm looking for -1, +2. So -1, +2. I go back and I'm going to do synthetic division here. So -1 and +2, and I'm going to kind of, I think I've told you guys, I kind of call it stacking. So I'm stacking one on top of the other. Because I need to take it down from 4 all the way to 2. So I need 2 divisions to do that. So 1, -3, 5, -1, -10. All right, synthetic division, bring down your 1. Multiply, I get a -1, add, I get -4. Multiply, I get a +4. Add, I get 9. Here, this is -9, -10. When I multiply here, I get 0, which is what I want. Keep on going, bring down your 1, 2, multiplying here, get -2, multiply, get -4. Add, I get 5, multiply, I get 10, and I got a 0 here. I'm done. But I need to use my quadratic formula, so -b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. My a is a 1, my b is a -2, and my c is a 5. Now be careful, if you're doing this in the calculator, you want to use parentheses when you go to try to figure out what this is. This is a +4 minus 20, which is going to be a -16. So this is going to simplify down to 2, because a negative makes 2 a positive. And then I'm going to have the square root of -16 all over 2, because this is 4 minus 20. Now the square root of -16 is 4i, because I can take the square root of 16 and the negative tells me to bring out an I. So it's just going to be 4i over 2. And again, I can simplify all of these by dividing by 2. So the answer is 1 plus and minus 2i over 1. Now, do I need this one the denominator. I do not. Do I need this one? Absolutely. Students always drop that off, and that's wrong. Okay, so I have a -1, a +2, 1 plus 2i, and 1 minus 2i. The first two are real, and they are rational because they were on our list as we thought through it. And the next two are complex, and that's all you have to do. Complex just means imaginary. And that should help you out in preparation for tomorrow's test.